Talking March Madness here on the Huddle. Ninja with Tony Farmer, John Henson, and Ian McMillan. And, we can't talk March Madness without talking Cinderella. Who can forget your Florida Gulf Coasts or your George Masons or your, Steph Curry's Davidson or last year's NC State getting all the way to the Final Four? Shout out to DJ Burns. Ian, I'll start with you. But first, what are some of the criteria that you look for when you're trying to identify a Cinderella candidate? What sort of metrics or, stats are you looking at to earmark one of these teams?
Yeah, I think for a Cinderella team to go on a run, they have to rank highly in one of two stats. One is extra scoring chances. He is creating extra scoring chances either by offensive rebounding or by forcing turnovers. NC State last year was a team that created a lot of extra scoring chances. St. Peter's a couple of years ago when they went on their deep run forced turnovers at a high rate. So either you got to create extra scoring chances or you have to be a three-point shooting team. 2021, Oral Roberts, 18th in three-point shot rate. 2023, Princeton, 12th in three-point shot rate. Any team that shoots a lot of shots from beyond the arc, if they get hot, they can be a dangerous team for anyone to face. So I think there's two teams this year. One, UC San Diego, everyone's talking about them. 8th in the country in three-point shot rate, shoot a ton of threes. 7th in extra scoring chances per game, plus 6.1 extra scoring chances per game. And the other team, the Troy Trojans, the only other high seed that ranks highly in both those categories. 57th in three-point shot rate, 79th in extra scoring chances per game, plus 2.4. That is what you want to look for in a Cinderella team. Either a lot of threes, or they can somehow, either if it's through offensive rebounding or by forcing turnovers, they create those extra scoring chance opportunities. So if you're going to pick one, they got to rank high, I think, in one of those two categories.
I have a follow-up, but I'll get Tony and John Henson's Cinderella first. So, Tony, over to you. Who will be, in your opinion, 2025 Cinderella team?
Yeah, I like the path for Yale, guys. They get Texas A&M, who kind of limped into the tournament. Next round, they're going to face either an inconsistent Michigan or a UC San Diego team who might just be happy to get to the second round at that point. And then next, they might face Auburn, who also kind of limped into the tournament as well. So I think the Sweet 16 is very realistic for Yale. You can get that at plus 290, or excuse me, 920, and then 65-1 to reach the Elite Eight. That's a little bit of a stretch, but I think it's worth it at that price there. Remember that this Yale team was within 6 points of Purdue with 3.5 minutes left when they played each other earlier this year. So yeah, they've had a light schedule, but they've also hung in there when they've played a couple of decent teams earlier this year.
That first round game is an interesting one. 7.5-point dog as we sit here, excuse me, on a Monday afternoon. A&M, we know they can D up, but they can go ice cold real quick. And if they're not scoring, they're a pretty terrible basketball team. So that one is very interesting. Apart from what IMAX sort of earmarked there in terms of what you're looking for in a Cinderella candidate, anything else, Tony, that you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think momentum is huge. And that's why you'll hear me on these shows talk about, they won 16 of their last 17 games, which is the case for Yale. So when I've got a team that's hot with a lot of momentum going against a team that stumbled coming into the tournament, I think that's important. And then experience as well. Do the players have experience in the tournament? Do they have a lot of seniors? And the last thing I'll say is a good coach goes a long way for sure. That's why I like Gonzaga.
John Henson, bring us home here. Who are you looking at as the potential Cinderella team of 2025?
I kind of took a different approach only because the top tier teams are kind of so much higher than normal years, so much better than a lot of the the lower seeded teams. So I don't think you're going to see a lot of upsets. Now, my pick may not be a Cinderella, but I think my Cinderella-ish pick would be Maryland to get out of their region. Now, hear me out. They've got to go beat Memphis or Colorado State. Then they've got to go beat UF, potentially have to go beat St. John's or Texas Tech, depending on what happened was that. So yes, maybe not a Cinderella slipper type team, but if Maryland makes it out of that region to the Final Four, which is by far the toughest region, I think that could be considered a Cinderella-ish type run.